Hey, welcome to session 4 of Never Ending Referrals. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, today you are in for a real treat. So Never Ending Referrals, this is all about a movement for taking control of your database. It's that opportunity to build a tribe, to build relationships. So today we've got some specialists in that area. It's the Dailey Group from Baltimore, Maryland. They're going to talk to us about how they've used strategically client events to build a mega agent business in the Baltimore, Maryland area. And I'll have you them tell you all about that here in just a bit. And yet, let's go over some of the review from your last session before we bring the Dailey Group in. So last week, session 3, I trust at this point you continue on the journey with DTD2. We heard at MegaCamp, we heard agents talking about a $100 million producer talk about how DTD2 was the fundamental of how they stayed in touch with their database. Last week we talked about business to business and that opportunity and who you get to be for this community with a value you can add is that resource who's the first, second, or third point of contact for people that are coming into our market and what you can be for those service providers, those retailers in your market. And then of course the 5-star script, a great strategy for getting warm business to business leads. Now we also touched on social media. We had care, connect, alert, refer, and engage. And as a little tactic to have you really think about what is that conversation that I choose to have when I engage in social media, and especially if I've got it set up in those Facebook custom friend lists that we share with you how to set up, how you can be so targeted. Maybe have that opportunity to preview what's been going on with next week's DTD2 group so that you can really be on purpose with some of your conversations. So that's what we covered last week. So this week, it's all about client events, it's all about parties, and yet what you're really gonna learn, it's not about the party. So let's bring in the Dailey Group. Seth, Alyce, come join us. Hey, welcome.
Good to see you, Steve.
Thanks for being with us
Absolutely.
on Never Ending Referrals.
Hey, Steve, how are you? Great.
So, well, welcome, and I know we've had the privilege of doing this many times over the years, and I want to share with our group at Never Ending Referrals what I love about the Dailey Group is you guys make this so instructional. It's really clear on how you make this work in your business, and I just first want to thank you for, I know how much y'all pour out and you share what you do, and y'all ready to jump into this thing?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go.
So Alyce, I know it all started with you. So you started this journey into real estate. You were the first one to take the plunge. Yes. Tell us about when did you do that and why'd you do it? Tell us about getting into real estate.
Yeah, so 2005 was when I started, and I came out of a human resources background. And we kind of knew we wanted to own our own business. We didn't want to work for someone else. We wanted to try something on our own. And so we thought, well, why not try real estate? Not realizing that it would be real estate that tried us out, and it wasn't us doing
I don't think you tried real estate. I think you did real estate. I think y'all nailed
And we were just
this
kind
thing.
of sick of hearing of, when we were talking to agents, they would say, well, how'd you build your business? They're like, oh, I've been doing this 30 years. I'm like, well, I don't want to do this 30 years before I have a referral business, so how do we speed that up?
Yeah.
So we wanted to figure that out real soon.
And then ultimately you fished this guy into the business.
I did.
So what'd you do to get him to make that plunge with you?
Oh, that was a pretty easy sell.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's once you realize, I mean, it is this company, right? Like we wanted careers worth having, but we really wanted a business worth owning. And when we got clear that real estate could create a business for us, and I'm sure we'll say it multiple times in the next hour or so here, but I mean, our business is our database, right? So I came into real estate having come out of the lending industry, and before that, public accounting. So Alyce was in HR, I was a CPA, and so you kind of see our different personalities show up there a little bit. And then she went into sales. It's kind of like you have the fish, all of the chicken. She went into real estate, I went into lending, and then about 3 years later, we're like, you know what, synergy is more important than anything else. We joined forces, just used our different strengths in different areas of the business, but started to grow a successful real estate business together. So it's been fun ever since.
Well, and tell us a little bit about the team, Seth. I mean, so y'all have a team, and tell us about the market y'all serve, and a little bit about the team, how it's set up, how it's structured, and what's going on with the team.
So we're in the Baltimore market, so Baltimore, Maryland, and we own a market center there, and then inside of that market center we have a team. So the Dailey Group is inside of there. Currently, you know, always in flux conversation, but currently we've got about 5 agents besides Alyce and I, and then 4 to 5 admin, and it's, you know, we're actually, in my mind, we're almost admin heavy. But as you see, kind of when we start talking about the way that we do our business, like we really want a strong operations team that is serving our clients. Like we want a high customer experience. We want you know, a lot of referrals generated, and so for us, that's about investing in the right people to serve our clients. And the reality is, we're at the point now that we're more involved in just touching our client database, generating the referrals, and having a great team of people to help serve them.
Fantastic, wonderful. Well, so tell us about, Alyce, you got this journey started, and you decided pretty quickly that this focus on events was going to be a direction, or maybe that wasn't a big focus, I don't know, and yet, tell us about why events. Why did y'all get kind of in this lane as a driving focus for growth for the team? Tell us about that.
So I knew that real estate is a contact sport. So you need to call them, you need to talk to them, you need to write notes, you need to see them, all of those things. So I wanted to figure out really quickly what was the easiest way to make all of those things happen. So basically, how do you make lead generation happen as effortlessly as possible, and what's the system that you can set up? Because for me, if somebody had said, you know, here's a stack of names, go call all these people you don't know, I wouldn't have lasted in real estate probably more than a week. Yeah. Just personality-wise, I had call reluctance. I wouldn't pick up the phone, and we hear that a lot, you know, people not wanting to pick up the phone. So what would make it easy to pick up the phone? And when you come from a place of giving, of genuine, like, hey, I want to give something to you, it's not hard to call and follow up to that, to say, hey, I just want to make sure you got the invitation. Mm-hmm. So when you come from a place of giving, then it opens up the conversation to be had of, who else do you know that we might be able to serve?
You had a tendency, I guess at first you said you were primarily working buyers, and somewhere in here you decided the housewarming party was a way for you to create an engagement and add value. You tell a story. How did that get started, and tell us more about that process.
Yeah, so Baltimore's really interesting because I was born and raised there, but had left for a lot of years. So basically it felt like we were coming into a brand new market. It wasn't like I was selling houses to friends, family, people I'd gone to school with. It was building one relationship at a time. So I would get these buyers and I realized, you know what, I really actually kind of like them. It'll be fun to work with more people just like them. So how do I get in front of people that are just like them, and realizing they know people that are just like them. They hang out with those people. So how do I get those people together? And then it was like, well, let's do a housewarming party for them, instead of all the things that we could spend money on after the transaction, of sending out the postcards of saying how great I am and look, I just sold a house to a bunch of people I don't know. Why not just invest that money back into the client, into the people they know? So it would start out with, me going to Costco and picking up, the crab dip and some chips, and basically just showing, them picking a date and showing up, and they would invite whoever they want. And the conversations at those parties were just so fun because people were like, well, my realtor never did anything for me like this. And inevitably, business would come from that.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned this, rather than spending money on postcards, that was actually a script you kind of developed. So when, one of the things we're sharing with them here on the screen is the actual flyer you have around the housewarming party, and share with us how you introduce that. And that's actually kind of part of your dialogue,
it's
right?
Still what we do today. Yeah. So I'll sit down at a buyer consult and talk through the process and just say, hey, you know what? I just want you to know that when this is all said and done, my gift to you is going to be a housewarming party. You get to invite whoever you want. We'll have it catered Saturday afternoon, like 2 to 4, 3 to 5, and we just want you to celebrate with the people that you care the most about. So it's already setting it up for a long-term relationship. So they know I'm not just in it for the check. I'm going to be their friend.
Yeah.
Way after, because most people don't do the housewarming party like the next week after they move in. It's usually 3, 6 months, a year. We just did one. It was like 3 years after they moved in, and they did their housewarming party.
3 years after.
3 years after.
Yeah.
We've still got people we're waiting for. And in fact, we'll even say to them, we'll say, listen, a lot of agents, after they sell a house like this, what what they'll do is they'll go print up a whole bunch of postcards and send them to all of your neighbors and say, look, I just sold this house. You know what we'd rather do? We'd rather spend the money helping you celebrate with people you care about. You know why? Because people like you know a lot of other good people. Yeah. And we'd like to build our business with the kind of people that you know. And when we use that script, then when we're going into the housewarming party, you know, we'll always get asked like, so do you capture every name? Do you throw them all into your database and start spamming them with email? And it's like, you know, you could, and honestly, no judgment in that, but what we know is this, the person who is throwing the party right there, that person is actually gonna know the best people that we should talk to next. So that's what we do.
So we at a party, we might come out with 2-3 names that we actually have a relationship with that we could call afterwards, and they would know who we are. And I'd rather have those 2 or 3 people than have 30 people.
And the first goal, right, is who's our next buyer or seller? Like that's the first question we ask. Who do you know that is thinking about buying or selling or investing in real estate next? But we'll follow up with 1 or 2 other questions. And one I just hope everybody uses in almost any conversation they're in. It's just, who do you know that I should know? Like who at this party or who in your sphere, who's a connector that I should know? Who could we add value to? Who could there be a synergistic relationship with? And then the third thing is, and we've talked about this at length, we used to cringe whenever we would go to one of those events and they would say, they'd introduce somebody and that person would say, well, I actually have a great realtor. And we realized like, wow, like
dagger in the heart, right?
Yeah, this is terrible. And then we realized, wait a minute, we just joined the company, like the company that creates a path, like a stream of revenue based on this conversation. So now all of a sudden we're like, well, who's your realtor? Like, we probably want to know them because if they're similar to us, if they're doing stuff like this, or you had a great experience with them, we probably want to be in business with them. And we're always looking for talented agents for our team, talented agents for the market center, and then talented agents just to introduce to Keller Williams around the country. So it's been a win-win-win, like all the way around.
So there's no lose now.
No. Or they say, I want to get in real estate. You know, I've been thinking about it. Awesome, let's talk about it.
So it's a great opportunity or a great conversation any way it goes, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. So here's what I love about you guys, y'all been doing this so long, y'all are so instructional. There are always people asking, so just exactly how does it work? And of course, we've given them the flyer and they've got it in the workbook and talk to us about the process, you know, when you do it, why you do it, when you do it, kind of cost, best practices around actually making that happen. What do they need to know?
So we start talking about it right at the buyer consult, so they know right up front. When we're showing houses, you know, looking at the house, like, hey, could you see yourself having your housewarming party here? So it's again a reminder that this is where we're leading up to. At settlement, we'll hand them the flyer. They'll get to see, you know, and then they're like, wow, this really is for real because we've been talking about it over the period of, you know, 30, 60, 90 days, however long you've been working together. And now I have a reason to call and follow up.
Ah, yes, yeah.
And out of everybody that we make the offer to, it's probably 25% that actually will take us up on the offer to do the party.
Yeah.
And some will do it right away. And like I said, some will do 3 years. Some will never do it, but then you call them, you know, it's still 5 years later and I'm calling, hey, are you ready for that housewarming party?
Becomes a running joke,
it's
right?
It's a total joke, yeah.
It does. It's a way to break the ice. But what's perfect about it is, you know, you said earlier, call reluctance. Anytime we're feeling call reluctance, if you pick out your phone, I pick out my phone, and we're going down a list of names, and I say, well, call this person right now and ask them for a referral. And if either of us feel guilty about it, it's because we know subconsciously that we're taking more than we're giving in that conversation. And the minute that we can just make sure that we put the balance on, we know that we're giving in any conversation more than we're taking. So a housewarming party is a great example, right? Because I literally know if I pick up the phone, I could call people that had a so-so transaction last year, people who had a great transaction, or people I've failed to stay in touch with for a couple of years. I can be like, hey, just checking in, how's the house? And have we done that housewarming party yet? I mean, let's get that on the schedule. And they're like, well, it's funny you say that. We're actually thinking about something. Like, well, perfect. Let's do the next housewarming party. Where's the next house going to be?
We're open to having a party anywhere, right?
It's a great icebreaker.
Yeah.
And to understand Alyce, you know, this is certainly more your personality than mine, but it's Alyce is about building connection and building community. And it just so happens that we're in this business that if you really want to become like the local expert, it's got to be about building connection with a small group of people and then letting it sort of expand from there. And that is the essence of what one of these parties does. In many ways, a client, we might meet a total introvert that has never thrown a party in their life, and they come out the other side of one of these just saying, thanks. Like, thanks for helping me feel rooted in the community. Thanks for helping me invite the neighbors or invite my friends from work. Like, I never actually would have done this. And let's get beyond the lead generation for a second and just talk about the big why. Yeah. People are starving for relationship and they're starving for community. And the moment you can actually give them that energy and help them make that a part of their lives, they're grateful for you on a whole different level. That matters more to us than real estate, and yet the referrals flow out of it, absolutely.
Well, one of the things I want you to talk to us about in just a second, Seth, is ponder this for a second, is you talk a lot about creating a tribe. And I want to come to that in a second. And I want to finish up on the open house or the housewarming party. Yeah. So what kind of investment is this? How does it go?
Yeah, so we usually do about $250. We'll cover about 40 people. Like I said at the beginning, we used to go to Costco and we used to do it ourselves. Now we've got more of a system of, we found a restaurant, Mission Barbecue, that'll deliver all of it to the house. We'll show up for maybe 30 minutes of it in the middle. Usually a Saturday afternoon works well, 2 to 4, 3 to 5, because it's kind of an open house feel. People can take the kids to soccer in the morning, can go out at night, and they don't feel like they have to stay all day. They're not expecting a whole big spread of food. They're not expecting a heavy meal, so you can get away with just little finger foods. And we ask the client to do drinks and dessert. So if they choose to have alcohol, we're not doing any of that. And a lot of people like to bake or go to their favorite bakery, so we let them contribute to it. So it's not, it puts their touch on it as well. We don't have any of our business cards or anything like that. We do cool success stories with our clients and their picture and their experience, because people want to hear about their friends. They don't care about us. But inevitably, it's like, well, you go to somebody at the party, hey, how are you connected to the party? What are they going to ask you? How are you connected? Oh, I'm their realtor. I helped them find this house, and I'm helping host the party. My realtor never did that.
Yeah,
so the conversations come really
That's
easy
awesome.
from that. But it's a really easy investment of $250. I mean, how easily can we spend that in other places in our business?
So there you go, Never Ending Referrals gang. I mean, it's a great place to start. You got a buyer right now. You can enter into this opportunity. We're giving you the flyer, just produce it. And so, Seth, before we move deeper, talk to us about this concept of a tribe. Seth Godin talks about this thing called a tribe, and I know this is really what y'all have done is create a tribe.
Well, we've tried so many different approaches, right, to building a business, and what we realize is we know absolutely that you could get a list of cold names and call them, and you could generate a bunch of expires or for sale by owners. Like, you could build a business that way, and plenty of agents absolutely do it. And then there's agents that also they work by referral. In other words, if you know somebody that needs to buy or sell, we'll talk to them. And if this person knows somebody needs to buy or sell, we'll talk to them. But what we realize is the person that she refers and the person that you refer, they don't know each other. And yet it's so much stronger if we actually build a tribe. We want to get to the point that inside of a community, and maybe that community is, maybe it's a church, maybe that community is a school group, maybe it's a particular employer in town. We want to get to the point where within that little circle, people are saying like, well, you got to call the Daileys. That's like that's the realtor for this company. That doesn't mean that we've got a contract with the company. It just means we've helped so many people there that we're like the de facto real estate team that serves that group. And when they start hearing about us from multiple friends of theirs or multiple colleagues that they respect, that's when you start to know that you've got this tribe and you start to build critical mass. And that's what we want. We want to be at the center of a tribe, because then we can actually use the influence of the tribe to bring more tribe members in. And tribe members, they want to be connected and they want to be missed. And so when we start to do events, that means that you don't just look at your guest list and say, well, who showed up or who didn't? It's like, wait a minute, if somebody didn't show up and they're part of the tribe, there's got to be a reach out to say like, we missed you. It wasn't the same without you. And that's what we've started to build, and it's the strongest form of a database that we've ever seen.
Fantastic. So let's move into the next event, because y'all do a series of events, and the one you say is a great entry point for a lot of our viewers on Never Ending Referrals is the pie party.
Yeah.
And tell us about the pie party and why is this a good place to enter into this, other than maybe something as simple as a housewarming, and we'll talk about others later. Tell us about the pie party.
Yeah, so the housewarming party I think is a great, if you need to duplicate buyers right away, go do that. Pie party, from a cost perspective, I mean, you're looking at $6, $7 per family. It's not a per person sort of basis. Also, then they're coming to you. You're not having to go to them for things. So we've done this one for years, but really we do it the week of Thanksgiving, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, at our office, 3 to 8 p.m. And the lead generation for this starts 6 weeks beforehand. So we're sending a save the date of, hey, Thanksgiving's coming up. We just want to, appreciate all of our clients who've sent us business and, continue to refer us. Would you like apple or pumpkin? And so we just start this conversation of, what we're doing, and we'd love to give them a pie, and genuinely in that conversation, what comes up, what's going on in their family, and so you're able to have this referral dialogue. But the actual party is they're coming to us, picking up a pie. Some will stay for, 2 minutes. Some will stay for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it's a great opportunity to get face to face. And people ask us all the time, well, where do you get the pies? And who baked it? I'm like, well, it's Costco. There's our big secret. We go to Costco, and our clients know that it's a Costco pie, and it's not about the pie.
Yeah.
It's they come because of the relationship.
Well, Seth, I've heard you say that people pay $20 in tolls to come get a $7 pie.
Yeah, it seems like that, right? Like we'll watch somebody go through an hour of traffic, pay tolls to get there for a pie that they could have gone and picked up faster, cheaper, locally, and it just shows that it's about the relationships. And when we talk about this series of events, the pie event, I wish, in fact, we got to find a way to do this all year round, because it is like, it hits I'm going to say the sweet spot here, and that's terrible. It hits it hits a sweet spot for us, because it's a low cost per family. As opposed to a high cost per person, and we'll talk a little later on maybe about a movie party. That's much more expensive on a per person basis, and it's something that is tied into gratitude, and it's the perfect time of year. But just realize that we could look at a calendar in advance and just plan out 4 to 6 events over the course of the year, and then say, well, if there's 6 events and you have 6 touches per event, well, gosh, 6 events times 6 touches. That's 36. Where have we heard that number before?
Wow.
That's basically our 36 touch, right? Like you could do a 36 touch by having events and then planning the different touches around the events. And then you just want to stack stuff. We talk about seasonality. Well, if you want to avoid seasonality, then you plan your lead generation in the months that are going to be critical to kind of destroy seasonality in your business. You want a strong first quarter, have a really, really strong fourth quarter when it comes to lead generation. So people will say, well, it's a client appreciation party, but I'm not a client yet. And we'll say, you know what? It's really an advocate appreciation party. And you're an advocate, aren't you? Yeah. And advocates like you have helped us build our business, and this is just an opportunity for us to give back to the people that have helped our business grow. And once we reframe it as this is for our advocates and our past clients, it really opens it up. And then we'll to bring them in a little bit further, we realize that, anytime we tie in a charity, it has an impact on people wanting to give, because it gets them into this mode. You're priming them for reciprocity. You're priming them to give, which, by the way, is going to turn out to be them giving you referrals or introducing you to other great people. So we realize that, like, on every event we do, why not tie it in with a charity? So I think at the pie party, it's often Toys for Tots.
Toys for Tots, canned goods.
Yeah, sometimes a warm coat drive for refugees in the community, like anything that we can do. And by the way, we also want to mobilize our database, our tribe, to give back and make a bigger impact than they otherwise would. And so it's a great way to do it.
So in one of the photos I was looking at, and we're sharing here with the group, is I saw a gratitude tree. Yeah. And of course that says a lot about culture and kind of obviously what they feel about y'all. Tell us about the gratitude tree.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, we really just think of it as what would we do with our own family? Yeah. And this is just expanding that. So, expressing gratitude is something we would do with our own children in our own house. So just expanding that and giving them an opportunity to share what they're grateful for. There's never a mandatory anything. Everything's just an opportunity. There are people that will not want a pie, but they'll come just because they want to give to Toys for Tots, or they want to bring canned goods, and they want to support a business that is doing good.
Yeah. Well, and let's go back for a second, because this is the most important piece probably of this conversation, is that it's not about the party, right?
It's never about the party.
You said there's all this lead generation or these conversations and activity going around driving an event. So talk to us about, let's just use the pie party as an example. Yeah. What kind of activities do you do to engage your database in the before, during, what's the before, during, and after that leads to what y'all have created?
So you can really decide how many touches you want to do around an event and back it in that way. So if you say, hey, I want to do 8 touches around this event, fantastic. 6 weeks ahead, let's do a email save the date. And then 2 weeks after that, we actually send the invitation. Now, even though on the back end, I can see who's seen the invitation and who's opened it, they don't need to know that. I pick up the phone and call, hey Steve, I'm just making sure that you got the invitation. A lot of times those things go to spam and you're really important to us. I wanted to make sure you saw the invitation for the pie party.
I got it, yeah.
Awesome, hey, are you gonna be in town that week? What's going on?
We are, yes.
Fantastic, because I lots of people travel and stuff. Are you staying home? Are you going to a friend's house?
This year. Yeah, we're gonna stay home. We're gonna go do the Black Friday shopping like crazy at midnight, kind of deal, yeah.
How's the family?
Everybody's doing really good.
Yeah, and work?
Work is, actually, I might be getting a promotion.
Wow, that's super exciting.
Well, it's exciting, and it also means we might be moving out of the area.
Yeah. Oh gosh, well, we definitely don't want to see you go, and of course, we'd love to serve you in any way we can, and gosh, we'd love to see you. So, that Tuesday before Thanksgiving, we're going to be having pies at our office. We'd love to have one for you. Apple or pumpkin? Can you stop by?
Man, that's a tough choice. I'm going apple.
All right. Yeah. Well, we'll follow up and make sure that you remember, because I know that the season gets really busy. But I'm going to put you down for an apple pie.
Perfect.
And we'll talk soon.
Yeah. There you go.
And Steve, she just role played a script right there of calling somebody who hadn't yet RSVP'd. We'll let people that will RSVP know. We'll call them anyways, right? And that's when we know that we need to retrain maybe our team or retrain agents that we're helping to do this. If they're like, oh, well, so-and-so said they don't want a pie, so I didn't call them. We're like, you're not a bakery. If you were a bakery, you would stop right now. But you're a real estate agent building a business, which means the whole point of the no was it just gives you context for the call. Like, hey, I wanted to make sure you got the invite. And they might say, well, didn't you see my response? I said I couldn't make it. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm so sorry that you won't be there, because seeing you is one of the highlights of my year, and I absolutely wish we were able to get together. What's your schedule like for coffee? What's your schedule like for lunch? And we just turn that right into building and developing the relationship. When we say it's not about the event, it's true. These are great events, and we've kind of fine-tuned the ones that we think work really well. But the whole point, it's like the book, The One Thing, right? What's the one thing you could do such that by doing it would make lead generation easier, never unnecessary, but easier? And the answer is plan an event, figure out all the steps you would need to do, 6 weeks out, save the date, 4 weeks out, send out an email invitation, 3 weeks out, follow up on the email invitation, engage with them voice to voice. 2 weeks out, we'll send out a bomb or a viral video blast and reminding them about that. A week out, send out a text reminding them about it. See them at the event. A couple days after the event, send them a text saying it was great to see you.
A handwritten note.
A handwritten note. A week after the event, sent out a social media post saying, wow, thanks to everybody who contributed. We collected this many pounds of food for the food drive. They're all connections that all said and done, you are top of mind with these people.
Calling the no's after the party, even though you knew they weren't coming, to say, hey, I know you were with your family out of town. I just want to know we really missed you at the party.
Yeah,
love that.
So they're just all opportunities to stay connected.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things these folks are going to want to do ultimately, and we'll talk about at the end, is they're going to want to seek y'all out on social media and go look at your Facebook site and see. You got pictures of all these events, and you guys can get a real sense of what it's like, and it's just through pictures of that experience. And so you gave us some good perspective here. Now, one last thing on this, because there's one of the things we're going to have the group mastermind after this session today is, what's their first event going to be, or what might they do as a market center? Because y'all now, as you as an operating principal, Seth, and y'all as owners of the market center, y'all now are doing this with your market center. So tell us about that.
Yeah, well, we just realized, for several years we've been doing it, and we were, even before we owned the market center, we were the agents that were like, we better hurry up and reserve the training room for, hurry, it's just after Thanksgiving, let's reserve it for the next year. And all of a sudden we're like, you know what? Let's just come from generosity in everything that we do. And the reality is, we were worried that, if we were inviting somebody for a pie, what if other agents in the same office are inviting them? When you work in this way and you're really building a tribe, there's very little overlap. And so we'd encourage, any office out there to turn this into an office level event. It's been a great source of energy for our office, especially because we're able to watch, we might have 150 to 200 pies at the Dailey Group station, and we might have another agent with 5 or 10 pies. The reality is, when their clients walk in, they might be a new agent with their first 5 or 10 clients ever, or 5 or 10 advocates, but when their advocates walk in and they see the whole market center bustling with activity and gratitude, they're like, wow, you are part of something great. And so it's really a way that we can help all new agents sort of build their energy and build their tribe from the beginning. So it's been fantastic to do at an office level.
Amazing energy. I could just, it gives me chilly bumps, as Mo Anderson would say right there. I tell you. Well, let's dig in. So we've got the pie party. You gave us a lead generation model around that and what that looks like. So Labor Day weekend, y'all do a barbecue, a backyard barbecue. And I want you to talk about the big lesson you learned about creating community in that event. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so we just do, kind of a backyard barbecue with moon bounce and cotton candy and, face painting and that sort of thing. And the first year we did it, we sent out the invitation and people would say, oh yeah, we're coming, what can we bring? I was like, don't worry about it. We got everything, you just come because you're our guest. So we were just used to this hosting the party and our guests not doing anything. And after that first year, we realized that we made a really terrible mistake of not letting our clients contribute, because there was a part of being a part of a tribe means that they're contributing. So the following year, we made it so that we had a list of we'll do the main dish, you do a dessert or a side item. So people started to bring things, and that's when the magic started. So people would come to the party, and Becky would bring baked beans and Nicole would bring brownies, and people would be at the party talking, hey, who made those brownies? Those are really good. Like, can you connect? I really want to get that recipe, or so-and-so did this. And so now we're connecting them to each other on social media. They're seeing each other at subsequent parties, and now the community's becoming a community. But we had robbed them that first year of being able to contribute, and then we saw the difference and the magic happen afterwards.
Yeah, perfect. Well, and somebody had asked, I know on one of our live sessions we had in the questions, they asked previously, they said, well, that's a logistics, now you got logistics, and there was a little resource called, was it Ping?
Ping, yeah.
Tell us about Ping and how they can help them do something like that.
Yeah, so we use Ping, pingg.com, and that does, so we do all of our invitations through there. I think it's pretty inexpensive to do the paid version. We do custom invitations there, but everything's online. We don't mail invitations, because it's not about really them getting it. It's about us making the phone call to make sure that they got it. So why spend the postage on it is kind of my kind of take on it. But you can see there who's opened it. It's got a great back end. There's a potluck feature, so you can put in the things that you're looking for. But you're just looking for engagement, and you're just looking for a simple resource to make the parties go.
And so I guess that's a pretty simple party to do. It's just to get together, and yet you've got, I've seen face painters, and what kind of little extra things do you have there that make it kind of family oriented?
Snow cone machine. We rented a little spin art machine a couple years. The moon bounce.
Usually a little bit of live music.
Live music if we can. Yeah.
I hear there's a good bongo player that shows up.
That's right. That's right. Only later into the party.
There you go. Girls' Night Out.
Yeah.
So this one is a little bit of a targeted thing that you do. Talk to us about Girls' Night Out.
So
sorry, Seth, you can't get in on this one. So okay, there you go. Yeah.
So when we're doing parties, I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we take these parties and actually target market to who we want? And I knew that I wanted to increase our average sales price. And so I thought, well, where do these people shop? Where do they go? Where are they already going that I can kind of draft off of something that's already being done instead of recreating something that's really cumbersome? And how do I do it so I don't have to do something else at my house, or just something simple and turnkey? So Pottery Barn, so these people, like, where do these women shop? We shop at Pottery Barn and Nordstrom and Williams-Sonoma. So how can I engage some of those places and make it really easy? So what we realized was that Pottery Barn already teaches classes to their customers on Sunday afternoons. So they already have something that they're doing, and the store is stunning. It's always beautiful. So we went in and asked them and said, hey, would you be willing to teach that same class maybe on a Tuesday or Wednesday night when you're not so busy, and we'll bring in people. So usually the end of October, early November, before holiday season kicks in, and they're still relatively quiet, but it's all decorated for Christmas. We'll ask, hey, can we bring them in? So we'll do Tuesday, Wednesday night, usually 7 to 8:30 on a weeknight, and you don't have to worry about how many people you invite, because the store can hold a gazillion people. So you're not super worried about attendance, and you're not really paying per person. But basically we go in, they teach a 15-minute class on how to set a holiday table or how to decorate for the holidays. They offer our clients a discount for anything they buy that night, so 15% off of anything they buy is usually what we get. And we do a raffle for a little Pottery Barn item, so we'll do a little card that they fill out about, your name and email address and how'd you hear about us and who'd you come with and do you have any real estate plans? Who do you know that has, is thinking about making a move? And the whole store is decorated as you're sitting in a living room, so the conversation naturally turns to home, like, oh, I love these pillows, or I love this couch, but it wouldn't fit where I live now. I can't wait till so the conversation's always around the home.
The conversation's around the home. It's brilliant. And, and of course, what great timing. And, Seth, because you talked about, starting to load up on the fourth quarters.
Yeah. So I mean, that's exactly right. Like we realize that we really do double down in the fourth quarter specifically, really kind of from Labor Day on, we're just like almost one event a month. And if you notice, like the type of event that Alyce just did there, it was like it was taking the personas of the type of clients that we would just like to have 100 of. And she just asked herself the question, where would this client shop? Where would this client eat? What would this client like to do in the evenings, on the weekends? And let's plan an event around that for them. And that's what made it magical.
It's all strategic, and yet it's all about community. I can see in that little environment how it's really a great feed-it strategy, because they're going to bring a friend, and it's a friend of the right caliber or the nature that you're looking for.
They're going to bring a friend if you remind them, right? 1 out of 100 will just be like, I'm bringing a friend to this. Yeah. But a whole bunch more if you will say to them, you know what? Who do you know that you might want to bring with you? Like, who would be a good introduction? They're like, well, it's funny you say that. I mean, I think Susie is thinking about selling in the next year. And it's like, they wouldn't have thought of that if you didn't just a little remind them, right? And it's a little bit of that reticular activator. Just tell them exactly what they're looking for. Who do you know that's thinking about moving in the next year? Why don't you bring them with you to the Pottery Barn?
Who do you know that's running out of space in their home that might be interested in coming?
Smart question, so fantastic. So let's talk about happy hour. This is one that any one of our viewers could do
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now. So tell us about that. I know you mentioned you do that a lot with there's a company near you y'all do a lot of business with.
Yeah. So what I love about happy hours is that you can decide today that 2 weeks from today, we're having a happy hour and I'm gonna get some people together. So, and they're movable. So you don't have to do it in the same place every time. Because we serve a geographic area where some people will come if it's within a 10-minute drive, but if it's more than that, they may not come. So we just pick up the happy hours and move them. So we've got great clients at Under Armour. So I'll call Kyle and say, hey Kyle, where do you guys like to go hang out after work? He'll tell me, we like to go to Diamondback Brewery. Awesome. Well, if I was to do a happy hour, if I was to host a happy hour on this day, would you be able to be there? Would you be able to bring some friends from work? Yeah, cool, great. Happy hour, done. And if you have 8 people there, it's a success. So I think we use this word event, and it's much like the word convention, where you think, oh my gosh, there's going to be like 1 million people there. An event, there has to be 100 people there. An event, I would say, only has to be 3 or 4 people, and you have an event.
There you go.
I would like there to be more than 3 or 4 people there, but I understand her. But I understand.
I think people get hung up on that, and they
absolutely.
never do it.
And here's the deal: if it's the right 3 or 4 people, like it's a lead generation move. And sometimes we'll walk out of a very small gathering. If they are the A+ is like the best advocates in your database, and you just spent time pouring into them, it only takes 3 or 4 of the right people before a couple days later you get a referral from this and a referral here and an introduction to another business person over here. It's about going after quality over quantity.
Yeah. Well, and you've got a really interesting approach that you've shared with me before, and that was, let's say there's somebody that you really desire to be there, and maybe there's some introductions you can make. Tell us a little bit about this little conversation strategy.
We've all had that feeling of, you're invited to something, you've said yes, and it's an hour before the event and you're supposed to leave, and you're like, oh, I feel really good to just sit on my couch and eat ice cream and not go. So how do you get past that with people and make sure that they get there? So I would call you and say, hey Steve, I'm so excited I get to see you at the happy hour on Thursday. Just wanted to remind you, oh, and you know what? my friend Sam is coming, and he's an amazing accountant. I think he'd be really great for your business. I think there could be some real synergy here. So just when you get there, do me a favor, remind me to make that introduction to Sam. Because sometimes things get busy and I forget, and that's really important to me. I don't want to forget to make that introduction because it'd be really a great introduction for you.
Okay.
I'm going to call and say the same thing to Sam, the CPA, so that when 5 o'clock rolls around and you're feeling like not coming, not only you're not going to let me down, but you're not going to let down this potential great introduction for your business and your life. So you're like, oh, okay, I'll go. And then you're always glad that you went. It's kind of like going to the gym.
Yeah, you just got to get there, right?
Just got to get there.
Yeah. And so, that really, that sense of obligation to be there now, it's just like having a personal trainer. He's is he going to show up? The accountability is there at a higher level now, and I've got to show up.
Not going to disappoint the coach.
Perfect. Well, and so I think one of the things y'all bring as a point of clarity here is that events don't have to be grand. They can be simple. They can be strategic. You can have a conversation like this that is about really bringing some of the right people that you desire to have there, create connections where they could be. And that's really brilliant.
And sometimes, obviously, if you hear our events, there's some variety to them, right? I mean, people that are the bouncy house backyard barbecue might not be the same crew that wants to go to the happy hour downtown. There absolutely could be some variety. We will still often invite people. Sometimes we'll say we'll do a movie party, and it's going to be a kids movie, and somebody in our database. Or one of our agents will say, well, I don't really want to call and invite so-and-so because they don't have any kids, they wouldn't like to make it. They just happen to own this company in town. We're like, you realize that this is perfect, right? Because you can actually call them and say, like, hey, we're doing this great event for our clients, and I know you guys don't have kids, and your chance of you guys making it is very slim, although if you did, we'd love to have you. And yet I just wanted to let you know this is the way that we treat our clients, the way that we treat our advocates, and anybody that that'd be a good fit for our team, that we'd love to serve them in the future. And that CEO of a company might send you out to their VP and everybody in their office that do have kids or just want to buy or sell real estate. It's about using all of these events to demonstrate how we serve people, how we treat people, and how we care about people more than just a transaction. So you can invite anybody to kind of any of these events. You just got to have the context of what you're asking.
Yeah. Well, and there's the brilliance in this. It doesn't have to be, I got to put this client over here in this box, and there's not a conversation I can have around. There is a conversation I can have.
There's always a conversation.
Yeah, there's always, and that's just taking time to really think about it. I think you just probably spun a lot of people's heads right there. I didn't think about a CEO with no kids having a conversation about a kids movie.
And people just want to be invited. They want to know that you thought of them, even if it was something that they're not interested in. Like, hey, I wanted to make sure you're important to me. That's what they want to hear.
You're thinking about them.
Yeah.
Well, so you talked about movie. This is many times when we hear people talk about events, this is the big thing that goes on in their head. That's the big movie event on a Saturday, and they think big dollars and everything, and it is big dollars. And you're saying, I've heard you say many times, this is not where you start. And talk to us about this event. Talk to us about the event, and yet maybe it's not where you start yet. When you decide to do this, tell us about this event.
It's not where you start, although, and I don't know if this trend is going on around the country or not, but in our local market, we used to be able to rent out basically like a 400-seat theater, and now all those theaters are upgrading. They're improving the seats, the recliners, and it's a lot more plush, but it means there's less seats in each auditorium, which actually means we're either having to get multiple auditoriums or we're actually starting to do smaller movie events more often. So we did 2 movie events almost back to back because one of them was just for our A+. We showed them a rerun of like literally it was already out on DVD at that point of The Greatest Showman, and then a week or 2 later we turned around and did a bigger theater for Incredibles 3 or 2 or whatever number we're on now. And yet, so in general, this is a bigger event. We're inviting more people from our database. Realize the number of families we touch at one of these events is still about like the pie party, because 100 families picking up a pie could be the equivalent of 300 people coming to a movie party, because you got, one parent was, it might be like one parent and a couple of kids to each event. Yeah. Like that might be about the ratio. So even though it's 450 people, it's still around 100 families that are touched in that event. but it's memorable. And what we realize is, man, anytime you pour into people's children, you're really having an impact that goes far deeper than a transaction, and it has an impact on people. And so when we found an event that we really could give back to their kids, and realized we did it when our children were at the age that this made a difference for us.
Right.
This is an example of just us being authentic with who we are. Like, we want this business to flow with our personalities and our style. This isn't about just going creativity first. It's like, follow systems and models, but find out what works for you.
I mean, if you don't have kids and you don't like kids, don't do this.
Yeah. Or at least not kids movies anyway, or something like
that.
Yeah.
Do something that's just
Maybe
more
do
you.
classics on on the big screen or something if you wanted to do that. Well, and talk to us about y'all have a tendency, the tribe y'all have created, it tends to be a lot like y'all, families. And tell us about your family. And we're showing them some photos right now of one of your daughters, I guess, dressed as a minion, and all that. And you involve your kids in all this. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have 4 daughters, ranging from 15 down to 6, and we want them to be engaged in everything we're doing. And because if we're going to take time away from our family, we want it to be fun, and anytime we can engage them, let's engage them. So, you can build your business around that if you so choose.
Yeah. And so at the movies, still got charity involved?
Always. So we collect books for the local children's hospital. Okay. So another reason for a phone call of, hey Steve, just want to let you know that we're collecting books for the Johns Hopkins Children's Center. If you have any new or gently used children's books, we'd love to have them, and we'll run them down, because people want to give, and if they're bringing their kids, they want their kids to learn how to give, because if they're coming for free donuts and bagels and stuff, they don't want it to be just about them getting.
The bagels, they want the donuts.
They want the donuts.
Right.
They don't want them just taking all this stuff. They want them to see that they can give too. And if you make it easy for them to give, they're grateful for that opportunity, because everybody's so busy. They want to give, but you have to make it convenient for them.
Once the movie starts, it's kind of the event's over, right?
Yeah.
And so you just settle into those big loungy chairs they have now, and you kick back and watch the movie, right?
I've never seen the movie at any of our parties, ever.
Why?
So right before the movie starts, we'll do just a few minutes, thanking everybody for coming. But really, the party is like 5-10 minutes long, because everyone's busy getting their stuff and collecting the books, and we do our thing. Lights go down. I go out to the hallway, and I'm taking a list of everyone that's there, that we had checked off. But what I'm looking for are the people that said they would be there that aren't there.
Yeah.
And I'm calling or texting them right then. So if the movie started at 10, they're hearing from me at like 10:05. Hey, just checking in. I didn't see you come to the movie. I just want to make sure you're okay. The power of doing that then, as opposed to Monday morning when I get back to the office and check the list, and Monday afternoon, hey, I saw you weren't at the movie Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you've just lost something critical there, because if they know that the movie's going on right now and they're calling or texting me, the relationship is valuable. And inevitably I'll get a call or a text right back. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. The kids were sick. The car broke down. I got called into work. I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to let you know. Thanks for thinking of me. I've just solidified that relationship so much because they were missed.
They were missed. Yeah. Seth, what would you add on to that, man?
Just that, it's this constant reminder of it's not about the event, or the result of the event, right? It's not about whether they show up, whether they don't show up. It's not about who RSVPs, if it's a big crowd, if it's a small crowd. It's about the fact that events are a catalyst for lead generation activities, and in all lead generation activities, we're demonstrating care, right? So that they're getting to know us as individuals that they can know, like, trust on a personal level, and then we're demonstrating competency. Like, do they trust that we are the professional real estate economists of choice that are going to help them through navigate one of the biggest life decisions that they've ever made? It's the biggest economic decision, biggest family just disruption decision. Like we want to help guide people through that, and so we just use these events as a reminder that we are that person that they can trust, and then we use it as an opportunity to leverage out to the people that they know by inviting them to it. So it for us is just the center of lead generation activity, and we don't and see, we'll get to a point in the year that we have to recalibrate in our own minds, because sometimes an event we will think it was successful, and we'll say, well, why was it successful? Well, because we sent out the invite and 100 people RSVP'd. Sometimes that success is the worst thing that could happen to us, because it didn't require the phone call. And then we think that all of a sudden, we're not in the real estate business, we're in the movie business. We're not in the movie business. The whole point was to have phone calls or face-to-face conversations, because this is a contact sport.
Everybody RSVP'd, and yet we don't have to do a phone call, we think, if it's just about getting them to the movie, and yet we still do the phone call.
Yeah, that's where it's really easy to get lazy, because they RSVP'd.
Yeah.
But that was never the intention. I mean, really, if you never see the RSVP list, that would actually be good, because then you'd really be forced to call them.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, didn't you see my, you know what, I didn't check, I didn't see it. I just wanted to call you because.
And if they did acknowledge affirmatively, you could just say, hey, we're just really looking forward to seeing you at the party. Yep. Right?
What else is new? I know that those parties are always so busy and I don't get to talk to everybody, so I wanted to make sure that I connected with you at least now, in case I don't get to see, a ton of you at the movie, because, with the kids running around, it's crazy.
You won't, and that's legit.
It
so,
is.
I mean, all day long.
And see, you teach forward, it's, in any conversation, you're thinking one, you're asking questions around family, occupation, recreation, goals, or dreams, and then you're just listening for real estate needs and or ways that you can add value. I mean, that's the essence of the phone call, right? Like, we serve a tremendous need within our database. Every agent watching this serves a tremendous need within their group of people. You're just listening for ways that you can add value. And if you add enough value to other people, what is it? I mean, it's Zig Ziglar, right? Help enough people get what they want, you can have anything that you want. And that's all we're trying to do.
We are doing. That's what you're doing. Yeah. Watch it. You're talking to a bowl coach. I'll get you. There is no try. Talking. Watch it. So, Frosty Party.
Yeah.
Now, so we're showing them some images from a Frosty Party, and these people got big swag on, and they got little signs out of the Dailey Group and all this, and just this looks like a lot of fun. And who do you invite to this? What's happening at this party? What the heck is Frosty? Talk to us about the Frosty Party.
Yeah, so we started this, 10, 11, 12 years ago. And it kind of started out of we wanted to do a December event, but then we kept having a hard time picking a weekend, because we were competing against all of our clients and the parties they were doing. Yeah. Why are we competing against them? So we actually do this party between the Saturday night between playoffs and the Super Bowl. Because that's usually when people are ready to go back out again. It's the end of January. They're kind of over the holiday hangover, they're ready to start doing stuff again. Frosty came from, I just named it after Frosty the Snowman, so there's nothing real special there. And we have, our best clients, couples over to the house, and we have live music and a bartender, have it catered. And it's kind of like our State of the Union. So we'll talk for maybe, 8 to 10 minutes and just share, here were our goals from last year, here are our goals for, in this coming year, so that they can get engaged with kind of what we're doing. And then we ask them, hey, what can we do for you? Because really, there's always somebody there looking for a job, or needs something for their kids, or needs a referral for something. The answer to whatever it is you need is probably a person in this room, or is connected to a person in this room. So it's our opportunity to give back to them and serve them in any way that they want. So we'll just talk for a little bit, but it's just a fun evening for adults to get out, interact with one another.
So no kid zone on this one.
No kid zone on this one.
There's the bongo player. We got the bongo player on the screen. There you go. He's I hear he's good, man. Yeah, he can jam.
Having fun.
So what's the highlight for you of the Frosty Party?
So that whole state of the team, state of the company, we'll usually bring the whole team up there and have just a really quick introduction. Sometimes it's just kind of a fun introduction, a fun fact about each team member. It's a way for us to really acknowledge and show gratitude to our team in front of this 100 to 150 of our favorite clients that are there.
And then because our clients don't always get to see our admins, so it's like putting faces and names together is really important.
They're more on the phone with them. And then just the idea of sharing, when you share goals with your top clients and you involve them in it, it's a whole idea of people are more invested in what they author. And so it's kind of like we're sharing our goals with them at the beginning of the year, and they're actually a part of it now at that point. And now it starts to feel like a tribe, like they want our success, and their referrals are what generate the success. And then there's a phrase that we've been using for a decade now, which is, it's really the heart of how we feel about this. And again, Steve, some people don't want to have people into their house, and that's totally okay. And yet our philosophy has been, we want to have people into our home, or we want to work with people that we would enjoy having into our home. And we want to serve them in the transaction in such a way that they would want to be there. And so when people are coming in, it's like this little bit of a reunion, and we'll see people back there year after year after year. If we were really smart, we would have done like pins or like badges starting from year one, like who's been to all 13 Frosty parties. But it really does become this thing where people are like, yeah, what's a Frosty party? Only the people that have been there know what it's like, and the people that have been there are like, hey, this is really hard to describe, but it's a party you don't want to miss.
Yeah. It's like the secret handshake of the tribe.
There you go.
And you only know what it is if you're part of the tribe.
Yeah, you got to come. If you want to find out, you got to come. You got to show up. You got to be there. So love it. Any other key events that you do that we didn't discuss?
Well, we were just talking about how this is our best group of clients, right? I mean, these are our A's and our A+ in the database, and yet it was still about 100 to 150 people. Sometimes it would be more than that, and we realized, like, what's the 80-20 rule, right? Like, 20% of this group gives us 80% of the referrals, and so how can we really take this thing to just another level? And this is where we started this whole idea of like the Dailey Group advisory board, and really like this top of the top people in our database that are just absolute influencers in helping us grow. And so we've started to actually do events for a very small group, and now we even shifted it. Instead of having like a Facebook page that we're sending out there to the whole world, we actually created a group, which in Facebook land it's a very different mechanism, right? Yes. I mean, a group.
Well, it's a secret group.
It's a secret group. People can't get in there unless they're invited in. People don't see it, and so we've got about 30 to 40 of our very, very best clients inside of a group, and we're doing special events for them specifically.
Yeah. So when we did at a nice restaurant, we did a brunch, and what we did was we shared books that have been impactful for us. So things like The Millionaire Real Estate Investor and Miracle Morning, and just all different facets of life, things that have influenced our family, influenced our business, influenced our finances. And we just shared like a little blurb, on all the books. And we had like our own little Amazon store in the back of 5 or 6 copies of each of the books. And we said, hey, if any of those books spoke to you and you'd like to take one on your way out. And now I have a reason to call them all year long. Because I want to know, tell me about the book.
You're creating an accountability program to the book. There you go, I tell you, isn't that awesome?
Well, an untapped resource in our company, in our business right now, is what Gary Keller created with QL for Kids. And just consider that, consider Quantum Leap, consider 6 personal perspectives. What we have inside of this company that we could use to teach business people, those interested in personal growth, like the people in your database would have so much value out of what we learn, even in environments like Mega Camp or Family Reunion. Like, there's so much that we have within this company that we could share with our clients, and what we found is, we want to invest in them. We want to help them create the life that they want of their dreams. We know that creating that is at some point in time going to involve them buying or selling real estate. So like that's what pays the bills. That's what feeds the family. But what feeds the soul is really helping people become the best version of themselves. And this is an opportunity for us to do that. And it's been fantastic.
Well, and I want to remind them, your former life, you were a CPA.
I was a CPA.
He's a recovering CPA.
Recovering CPA. and so behaviorally, you're not a high social.
Yeah, that's true. And we've talked about that, right? Like, believe it or not, these events are the catalyst for me to do it. Obviously, I can speak in front of groups. I don't mind that at all, and yet I'm not naturally social. So for me, as a D on the disc, or even as a C, like, I like this as a C because there's actually a checklist. You want to have a good event? Create a checklist, check it off, and do everything, and the event will go well, and it will generate referrals because there's a proven methodology to do it. And as a D, there's nothing better than having 100 people come through, hugging 100 necks and 100 families in one afternoon. Yeah. On a date that I schedule, called the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
I'm getting up for it. I'm getting there. Yeah, you're ready.
Exactly. Get in state, right? There's that's fantastic, and that's it works for my personality type, and certainly it works for Alyce's as well.
Lastly, I think what I'd love to wrap up on is, first, a lot of gratitude for you guys. I mean, you just poured your hearts out in all of this, and I know this is going to help every person here on Never Ending Referrals and all the other people that y'all have shared this with be successful with that. So it's just so instructional. And so what I'm going to ask every one of them to do is, as soon as this is done, is get your phone out, and you're going to go to where?
Kelly.
Kelly, and you're going to look up Seth Dailey with an E, Alyce Dailey with a Y and an E, right? And you're going to invite them to your referral network. In fact, I encourage you in the comments to let them know that you heard about them on Never Ending Referrals, and add them to your network, because if they know you're in Never Ending Referrals, they know that you think like they think, and they would love to have you be part of their tribe in the Keller Williams arena, right?
For sure.
And so seek them out on Kelly, and then where can they look at you guys on social media, kind of get a feel for some of your events, stay connected with the Dailey Group that way?
Yeah, I think the best place is Facebook. Go to the Dailey Group on Facebook.
The Dailey Group, okay.
All the albums, everything that we do, it ends up there.
It's all there. So
Yep.
I mean,
And we talked about this earlier. One reason why we put all those albums, we'll do a lot of pictures of client events. Sometimes we'll bring in a professional photographer, and then we realize, wow, start tagging our clients.
Yes.
Because if you want to have a viral impact, and you start to, you can't tag them as a company, but you can go in then as individuals. So Seth Dailey, the friend of Zach, can tag Zach in one of these pictures. And when we start to tag all of these families in these pictures, and then we start realizing like, oh wow, you knew the Daileys. Oh, I didn't know that you knew the Daileys too. And it starts to go viral. Those are the biggest shares that our company has. I mean, forget boosted posts and everything else. When you can go viral inside of your own organic database, it has a huge impact. And so yeah, check us out on Facebook. That's the easiest way to see kind of what we've done. And we're happy to answer any questions. Like, we're failing our way forward in these things every year. We're labbing it, right? I mean, that's what we're doing, right? Like, we're just labbing client events and improving them every year. And so it's been a fun journey.
So true.
awesome. So Never Ending Referrals, a couple of things. Here's what you got to do as you go into your lab now is I'm going to have you, I guess we're going to call it a lab. It's a lab. So you're going into your own lab, because it's all a lab now. We've got to get the right language. You're going to go into your lab session there in your market center, and I want you to think about, if you're not doing events, what's my first event? Is it going to be a book club? Is it going to be a
Happy
happy
hour.
hour? Is it going to be
The pie event.
whatever it's going to be? Make that choice. And then I also want y'all to mastermind, get yourself into mastermind groups and mastermind what would be an event we might do as a market center, so we can leverage this, maybe do a bigger scale event. And you've got some great ideas, and I love that y'all shared that we have a wealth of resources. Things like the Quantum Leap for the kids, and get certified, instruct that, or is there somebody in your market center, and then leverage these opportunities.
Yeah.
So here's what I got to say to all this. May your referrals be never ending. We'll see you on our next session, where we talk about how to cement those new relationships that you're adding to your database. Take care, folks.